Hello, good morning.
GM, how you doing?
GM, good, 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 good. Nice to see Tony here in the space.
I know. What a good morning treat. I don't know if he's in LA, but that would be very early.
What's up on your side, Valko? How are you doing?
Nothing much, just trying to plan this Tokyo, Japan, a Dow Tokyo event. It's pretty fun.
I see, I see. When are you going? When are you flying over?
I'm gonna be there. I want to say the 10th through like the 20th, or the 22nd. So almost 2 weeks.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, it's I definitely have some FOMO missing out NFT NYC, but I feel like if there was one good excuse, it's I'm going to Dow Tokyo.
Nice, nice, nice. So that is like, what stuff do they have over there? Just DAO related stuff, or?
I think there's going to be a lot more events than just like Dow Tokyo. Like I've already been, I'm in like a punk chat with a bunch of events and stuff to go, like kind of like side things. So we'll see. I think obviously Dow Tokyo's focus is like DAOs, but I'm sure it'll stretch across all topics.
Nice, nice. I guess they'll discuss nouns a bit there as well, no?
Um, I guess what makes you say that? Just because Downs is a killer Dow?
Yeah, it's I guess a very cool use case, and but I guess not just NFT related stuff as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of DeFi folks out there as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I see K4K just joined. If you want to hop on stage, say hi. Just request a mic. Tony, same for you. Feel free to hop on stage, say hi. And yeah, a couple of other friends I see just joined as well. I've been spending a lot of my weekend figuring out how Discord servers work on my end.
There's so many settings, huh?
It's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting.
I spent like 3 hours yesterday with my friend automating this like small part of my Discord, and it was like such a nightmare, but we finally got it figured out. And so basically now I have this system to like capture tweets. I've been like saving tweets to Notion for like
Yeah,
years,
yeah.
but now I've got the system where I can save it to Notion. ChatGPT generates a title, rather than just extracting the text from the first tweet in the thread, or if it's a single tweet, just from the first tweet. So ChatGPT generates a title for it. ChatGPT tags it, and then I have a Zap and Zapier capture a screenshot of the tweet and assign it as the cover image in the Notion database. And
Oh
then
wow.
lastly, I have a bot through, I guess, Zapier, send the tweet into a channel in my Discord, so that people, instead of having to visit my Web3 wiki all the time to see like what's new, what's fresh, they can get updated in real time with all the things that I basically flag as like noteworthy, which is awesome. So I'm really excited about the automation. Today's like first day in action, but it's pretty exciting.
And it sounds like you're like gonna be more productive than any super coder out there.
I
But
mean, it's pretty incredible what you can do now with like Zapier and building all these systems. It really does save time, but it helps if you're technical. I have somebody who's a really good friend that's helping me, fortunately.
yeah. GM Tony, how are you doing? I see you have some sort of a 3D punk there, is that?
GM, you mean my
Yeah,
PFP? No, it's just a black. It's just a black background. So I kind of downloaded it a couple of times, and every now and then when I change my PFP, I'll go into my desktop and I'll change it. And so I just happen to pick one with a black background. So that's
It
all it
looks
is.
good. I have the dark mode on, so it's got that floating effect.
Yeah, I actually like it. So but GM, yeah, it's super early here. I'm in LA, and I got up early because yesterday I went to meet with Seth over at Bright Moments because talking about the Tokyo
Hmm.
trip. So I'll be in Tokyo. Looking forward to being in Tokyo and hanging out with some Tokyo punks and I know that Valko's going to be there. So looking forward to seeing him there.
What
But
motivated
yeah,
the Tokyo trip over NFT NYC?
Yeah, I'll actually be both because I'll be heading up with Art Supply and Jeremy Penn. We're heading up DJ Arcade, which we'll be unveiling our newly minted claw machine. So we'll be there. It'll be fun. We'll be there at DJ Arcade, and then come back to LA, and then go to Tokyo. So it's gonna be a busy month. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Hell yeah. Yeah. One of my clients is doing like a offsite in Japan and they asked me to join. And so I was like, cool, like get to go to Japan for the first time. Like I'll miss NFT NYC, but like seemed like a no-brainer. So I'm going 5 or 6 days early just to like
Yeah.
pop around.
So this will be your first time to
First time
Japan?
in Japan. I'm spending 3 or 4 nights in a pod hotel, which should be really exciting.
Oh, that's cool. That's nice. Yeah. Yeah, you'll love Japan. So one of the things I love about going to Japan, it's going to be kind of off topic, but I just love Japan toilets. It's like Japan takes toilets to a freaking another level. It's every time I go to Japan, I come back, I'm like, dude, in the United States we do toilets wrong. It's just like, like once you use a bidet, you like wonder why the hell doesn't the rest of the world use a bidet?
Yeah, I've heard about the Japan toilets. I mean, I went to Korea earlier last year and they definitely had some intense toilets, but I think I still haven't seen like peak toilet yet.
Yeah, I'm talking like seat warmers and aromatics. It's like different levels of misting and flows. it's,
What? Why
it's like
hasn't
yeah,
it?
it's like
Why hasn't it taken off in the Western world? These kind of toilets.
oh god. I think a lot of it is just
Regulation.
as speaking as an American. No, I think speaking as an American, we're just like, I mean, there's like different cultures for toilet. I mean, I see Fernando Samalat here. He's from Puerto Rico, and I'm from Mexico. And like Mexicans have like for instance in Mexico, they have this thing where like the plumbing isn't necessarily as great as you'd like it to be. So they literally will put like toilet paper in a canister next to the
Oh
toilet
yeah.
seat. It's like the grossest thing ever, right? But it's just like they encourage you not to flush toilet paper because the culture is just that the pipes are going to get clogged, and it's just a mess. But so when you go to like a country like Japan, you know, where sanitation on a toilet level is kind of different. It just, I mean, I'm always enthralled with the way the Japanese do toilets. It's just like it's like another level.
That's so funny. Yeah, yeah. I've been to like some places in Mexico where like it's super frowned upon to flush any toilet paper. I mean, it's like it's as bad as like sticking gum under like a table or like throwing a plastic bottle out the window. You know, it's like super fucked up.
Yeah, I love my Mexico, and I love but that's one thing that we don't do right. But it's also like a culture difference, like right, like right now, Elon is staying with me here in LA, and he's from Mexico, but he lives in Tokyo, and we were discussing like the process of him doing photography. And Japan, you could literally like set up a camera, take pictures, leave it on the sidewalk or in the street, and nobody's going to take it, right? But try to do that in any Latin American country, whether it's Mexico or Latin America or Puerto Rico, and your stuff is going to be gone in a
Yeah,
second.
I mean, you probably got to like keep contact with your camera at all times.
Exactly. Yeah, but I think it's also a cultural thing. Like cameras for the most part, it's like Japanese, huge on cameras. But yeah, it's just to me, it's always fun to travel and see all these cultural differences. When you travel across the globe, it's like
Yeah, no, it's
yeah.
definitely a cultural thing. Like when I was in Korea last year, we went to these like underground street markets and there were people selling like sandals and like kind of like cheap clothes and beanies, like all the things you would expect for, like $5, $1 or less sometimes. But there would also randomly be these like jewelry stands and they had the classic like glass box, but like easily shatterable glass box with stuff like I went up and asked about a piece because I thought maybe I'd be able to find something insane like at a really good discount. There were pieces in there worth over 100K, like CryptoPunk cost pieces. Like, and at night they just leave that shit there. They go home, like the market like doesn't really get locked up. It's kind of like an open air market, and they just go home. And it blew my mind. And everybody was like, "Well, they have a lot of enforcement systems there and cameras and stuff. And I was like, I don't think that's it, man. Like, I think it's just really like bad mojo, really frowned upon to be a thief in that country, like for whatever reason. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. It's also like the level of punishment is also pretty severe. Like Japan, like Japan prisons are probably some of the worst prisons that you could possibly go into, just in terms of like, not so much in terms of like anything of abuse, but just like the discipline that people have to be in a Japanese prison is next level.
Huh. I would watch an entire Netflix series on that.
Yeah, I happen to be. I was former military, Marine Corps, and then one of the guys ended up doing something from the base, and he ended up in prison. And the stories that he told were just horrific. Not so much like I mentioned, it's just like you can't, like, I believe back then, and it's still now, like you can't even look a prison guard directly in the eyes. Like you have to cast your sight downward.
Oh my gosh.
And address them and speak to them, but you can't even speak. You can't even look at them. It's like you will be punished for looking at a guard.
That is wild, 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 wild.
Hey Tony, so you and I, we usually speak on some Zoom calls. Always much fun, and I think a year ago when we first spoke, you told me about your project Degen Arcade. How about you share a bit more of what it is and how it has like evolved like over the past year?
Sure. So Degen Arcade was a concept conceived by Daniel Artsofly and Jeremy Pan and myself. And basically, think of it like an old style video arcade. And in this case, what we did is we took an arcade machine, the kind of machine, the claw machine, the classic claw machine where you use the joystick and you maneuver a claw and then you fish out a prize, right? So what we did is we reinvented it somewhat for NFT NYC last year, and we took a machine and basically set up ourselves in the meatpacking district, this kind of like posh area of New York, and we basically set it up to where you could basically use the claw machine and maneuver it, and you would essentially get a ball. So it was a kind of analog experience. We basically get a ball, you play until you win. In this case, you paid some ETH, but you essentially got a token. Pop the token into the machine, play until you win. You got a prize. Whatever was in the ball was a QR code, and that was an NFT. We would scan the NFT, and then whatever NFT you won, we would send it to your wallet. So, but it was all kind of a manual process. So then what we did is, we then set up for Art Basel. Unfortunately for Art Basel in Miami, we didn't have the machine ready. But now it's ready, and so we'll unveil it in New York. And so now it's a totally reinvented claw machine. So now in this case, you're going to be able to walk up to the machine. It's a traditional claw machine, but imagine this claw machine now is all clad with basically digital displays. So digital displays on the front, digital displays on the side, digital displays on the top of the banner. Where, in this case, it's an LCD screen because the digital displays aren't ready for the top. But on the bottom, it's like you have all the digital displays, and then claw machines typically have this mirror on the back where it has the where it reflects kind of like the toys that are in there. In this case, we also have a digital display in the back. So the digital display for the claw machines basically display any prize that's in the claw machine. So in this case, it's all NFTs. So the process is you go up to the claw machine, you scan a QR code. It's going to prompt you to do one or two things. It's either going to prompt you to send an Ethereum transaction that allows you to pay a fee, play with the machine, play until you win. The ball that you get is going to go through the chute. The chute's going to scan it. And once again, it's got an NFT. That NFT will automatically go to the Web3 wallet that you're playing with. If you don't have a Web3 wallet, you'll essentially be prompted to either do Apple Pay or Google Pay. You'll send it to, you'll pay. And in this case, Magic Link will set up a custodial wallet. And so the NFT that you win, once again, from the ball that gets scanned through the chute, will essentially go into a custodial wallet that then you later on through your email, you can go ahead and recover it. So with Degen Arcade, what we want to do this year is we'll be posted up in Soho. We have a location where we'll be for 3 days. And it's basically, kind of think of it like a lounge. You can actually just go there, chill, spend some time. Last year we hosted the Nifty Portal. We typically host the Ness Graphics, Alex Ness, and Snuffy Pizza Party, annual pizza party. We've hosted a number of things. But in this case, we're basically going to be posted up in Soho. You can come by, just enjoy the DJ Arcade, play the machine, and just kind of hang out, right? And it's our first activation for the actual machine. So we're excited. We've spent an inordinate amount of money to develop the machine, and it's really kind of like two things. One, it's hardware, which is the machine, but it's also a BaaS. It's kind of like a blockchain as a service, where in theory you can basically use the machine, for a number of things. It's like any type of activation. But in this case, just to conclude, the machine is going to have NFTs, and a lot of the NFTs that it has is NFTs that are redeemable physical items. So in this case, we've already partnered with Ledger, and so some of the wallets in the claw machine are going to be NFTs that are redeemable for NanoX, NanoS wallets from Ledger directly. And so we have Ledger, we have a couple other brands that we partner with, where the NFTs within the machine are going to be NFTs that are going to be redeemable with the different brands for their physical items.
Dude, that's so fun. I got to see this thing. So it's going to be in New York, you said?
It'll be in New York. It'll be in New York, definitely for NFT NYC. So we'll be posted up in Soho, and come by, grab some pizza, get something to eat, just chill and just check out the machine. And then it'll be in for those 3 days. It'll be there, and then the machine goes back to the development. So we're working with these two very big manufacturing hardware software companies that do this kind of stuff. And then we're hoping that hopefully, if we can get it done, is to ship the machine out to Bright Moments. So that was one of the things I was speaking with Seth last night. And hopefully we can have the machine in New York, and I'm sorry, in Tokyo. But yeah, definitely in New York. And, we're excited. We've been working a lot to get the machine out, and it's going to be really fun because imagine this machine that, used to have plushies now has these balls, and it's got like this perpetual ETH wallet that you can dump prizes into. And last year, Brian Brickman won a V1 Punk. Redbeard with Ness won a Clonex. We still have a Meebit in there. There's a bunch of assets that are going to be in there. So it's kind of a really cool machine because we don't really never need to open the machine because all the assets that we put into it essentially get dumped into a smart contract, and somebody will win them. And we have some plans for some big assets, including a V2, V1 pair of a Punk.
Dude, what the fuck? That's insane.
Nice. They will get eyeballs on the project for sure.
Yeah. So yeah,
I'm wondering, what was the initial inspiration for this? Was it to help normies onboard into Web3, or was it more to?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
Was that the main thing?
Yeah, the main focus was, okay, what can we do to drive mass adoption, right? So we're like, okay, well, people like arcades, people like to go in. So one of the things that I've learned from Bright Moments is, Bright Moments, for those who you aren't familiar with Bright Moments, it's basically Bright Moments is a DAO that operates set out to set up 10 galleries, all NFT galleries across the world. The DAO is governed by crypto citizens. There are 10 cities, so 1,000 crypto citizens for every city that they engage in. So they started in Venice, California, New York, Berlin, Mexico City. We're now going to do Tokyo, and then we do Argentina in October. All right. So when you think about it, it's all premised on in real life minting, right? So you can't mint a crypto citizen, and you can't mint a piece of art from an NFT from any of the collaborating artists unless you do it in IRL, so in real life minting, right? And so DJ Arcade is kind of around the same process, right? It's like, okay, can we have it to where you go up to a machine and actually engage with the machine in a dollar transaction, or just paying with a debit card, or just a Google Pay or Apple Pay, and essentially win an NFT. And the beauty of it is that you can win an NFT and not necessarily have a Web3 wallet or crypto wallet, because essentially a wallet is set up with you just like if you were going to set up Gemini or Kraken. It's like all those are custodial wallets, right? So as long as you have an email, you can recover your asset and send it to whatever wallet you want to. So we set out to basically figure out, okay, everybody here in the space right now has like been around in crypto for a while, right? Like we all know what we're doing. We all drink the Kool-Aid. We all sort of play with the memes. Like yesterday was a super meme, right? It's like Elon tweets about Doge. He tweets about, sees the memes, and the freaking space goes nuts. And then a bunch of people, noobs, get burned because they buy the top and these prices crash. And so we know the cycles, right? But that's like the normal cycle of what we know. For those of us who are seasoned, we know what happens. But you ask yourself, well, how do we bring in more of the masses? How do we promote wide adoption? And the way you can promote wide adoption is for you to be able to use a claw machine or similar to a claw machine, where like your experience is like, I'm going to pay $5, $10, $20 for a chance to play and potentially win something, right? And that experience is going to not only onboard you into crypto, but it's also potentially going to give you an asset that you can win, right? And what I love about the claw machine is, like, for instance, like, let's say I go to the claw machine and I win a pair of sneakers. Like one of the companies that we're working with is Endstate. So endstate.io, endstate.io is the company, and they make shoes, right? They make sneakers, and the sneakers start off as an NFT that you'd essentially redeem for the physical object, for the physical sneakers. The sneakers contain some, the NFC chip. We're seeing that from different wearables, fashion, generative fashion. We're seeing that with 90cc and G-Money's project, right, where you have a NFC chip that issues you a POAP. So basically, let's say that I win the sneakers, right? So I win the sneakers. Let's say I'm a newbie and I win the sneakers. It's kind of an interesting experience now, right? Because I win the sneakers, and now I have to decide, do I take redemption on the sneakers by going to the website? Or wait, there's this place called OpenSea where I can sell the sneakers, never take possession of the sneakers, but still sell the sneakers on the secondary market. So if I win the sneakers for $20 and the sneakers are worth $200, I can sort of like say, oh, you know what? I'm going to go to OpenSea and just sell the sneakers. But then when I go to OpenSea, I see all this other NFTs that it's like, oh, what's this NFT? Like, oh, there's this NFT called MetaBrew that I can buy a token and I get beer for lifetime. It's like the level of engagement that we're going to have with NFTs and the next cycle is going to be freaking astronomical, because now you're getting into the fact that NFTs are not only events, not only in real life activities, but they're also like your supreme loyalty tokens, right? Like I can get rewarded for holding a particular NFT. I can play to earn with NFTs. I can get magical internet money dropped to me via an NFT just because I happen to hold that NFT.
Dude, I love it. I mean, and a claw machine is such a like beautiful meme that you can latch onto and everybody knows it. Like it has a fond memory in everyone's heart. And I love that you can only mint the NFTs for bright moments. I didn't know that IRL. That's so special. I mean, just like one thing I've learned from having my Discord or even hosting these spaces is like getting to talk to people versus texting at them all the time forms such a strong connection. And when you like force people really to get together IRL, and I know Forever Punks, like you connected with so many people when you're in Paris, like now you have like bonds for life with these people. But when that is like the moment you're onboarded into the community, I think that like amplifies everything like even more. So that's super cool. I mean, Tony, like we wouldn't be probably here on stage right now if we didn't have such a good time, in LA. So it's really cool to build something around like really like that IRL experience, not in like a cliche way, but like I mean that's like a core pillar of that community. That's super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's physical, the physical, being in a physical location and actually, breaking bread and having, just meeting with people is so important. Like, I've been fortunate enough to have gone to, to different parts of the world and met up with fellow punks. And it's like, just that experience of meeting up with fellow punks is like, I feel like wow, it's like I could literally like fly anywhere in the world, and if there's a punk, I could probably, most like probability, have a couch to kind of couch surf, right? It's like I could literally be stuck somewhere, and it's like, oh yeah, and so like the whole idea of what we participate in the ecosystem of NFTs is enhanced once you go and do in real life activities with NFTs. And what, you know, I'll be honest with you. When Seth and his crew pitched Bright Moments to me to become a member of the DAO, I didn't quite grasp the what it would mean to do in real life minting. And then when I participated in Venice, I kind of like, oh, this is cool. You know, you get to go up there and you mint your NFT. You know, you mint your crypto citizen that kind of gives you governance over the DAO. I was like, ah, yeah, it's kind of cool. And then I went to New York, and then I convened with a bunch of punks. I was like when I went to New York was the first time that I got to meet G Money, and G Money at that time was still not docs; he was anonymous, you know. And so, but I knew he was because we had video calls. So I got to I had to give in real life. I got to give G Money a hug, right? And it's like that led to when I was in Puerto Rico, I'd have lunches with G Money, right? And so like that wouldn't happen unless you can go out and touch grass, if you like, you will, and actually meet with people, right? Convene with people. And like you mentioned, Balco, we did it in LA. We did it with a bunch of punks, right? You know, thankfully you coordinated that event, and it was like it was real cool. It's like, you know, you met with a lot of punks. I got to meet Wilcox like for the first time, and like he comes up to me and it's like, hey, I'm Wilcox. And I'm like, oh shit, it's like Wilcox. I mean, Wilcox is like as famous as Hemba, you know, and Stray Bits, you know, legends in the CryptoPunk space. And you know, it was just so fortunate to meet him in real life and just break bread with him, even though he's technically an anonymous individual in the space.
Yeah, it's pretty cool how people open up the kimono like that. You know, like my face isn't doxed, but like I've met people IRL. I do video chats with people, and there's a tremendous amount of respect. Like any of these people could really like ruin it for the other person. Like, you know, Forever Punks, if he wanted to, could take a screenshot on one of our Google Meets and just dox me to the world, or vice versa. But we don't do it because maybe there's mutually assured destruction as part of it. But there's a tremendous amount of respect in this space, which I really love to see. And you know, sometimes it's not a perfect system; the cat gets out of the bag. But yeah, it's super special.
You know, it's a really special situation, Balco, and you touched on it because I remember like I become good friends with Stray Bits, you know, who is freaking legend in the space, you know, famously claimed 7 of the 9 aliens, you know, back in 2017. And you know, I remember meeting him through of all things. I noticed that his ENS domain for straybits.eth had expired. And so I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna register this because I don't want it to be, I don't want anybody else to snag it and then take it away from him, right? You know, potentially just like, you know, hold it hostage of sorts, you know, and command a big price for it. So I registered it, and I didn't know him at the time. And then he reached out and he's like, hey, you know, I noticed you bought this. Can I buy it back? And I'm like, no, you know, you've done so much for the space. I'll just, you know, gift it to you. Give me an address and I'll send it to you. And he came at me initially. He came at me like, you know, like, why the hell did you buy this domain? And you know, ENS domain. And then you know, that through that interaction, we became really good friends. You know, he's you know, white hat hacker, and it's like you mentioned, he's anonymous, but yet I've had many video calls with him where and he could, you know, he's not doxed and I could have doxed him. But I mentioned this story because I reached out to him because I was about to buy a property in LA. And I said, hey, dude, I got some punks that can I collateralize them with you? And can you give me an ETH loan? And this was around the time they had sold his ape. And he's like, yeah, dude, no problem. And so I mentioned that only as an illustration of like, there's deals that have happened between punks where like the amount of money that has been sent from one punk to another, whether it's in the form of ETH or whatever, is just crazy when you think about that. There's no contract in mind. There's no contract in hand. It's just the sheer reputation of each punk from one another, and the deals that are made are staggering when you consider them in comparison to the Web two
Oh yeah,
world.
I mean it's funny, you know, the space is built. I think a core part of the Web3 ethos. You got like decentralization, permissionlessness, and trustlessness. But like I think it's pretty cynical to think of a world where there's like zero trust anywhere. And trust is like a really beautiful thing. Like these situations you're describing it's so wonderful, and people forget that. And I was talking about this on one of the other spaces we had. Um, Pseudo anonymity is very different from full anonymity, because when you have a pseudonym, it effectively becomes your identity, especially in a world that's increasingly digital and increasingly on chain. Like Valco, like is a reputation I personally care. I'd rather commit a crime in my own name than commit a crime in Valco's name, because Valco is so much more
Interesting.
meaningful. It's who I wanted to be all along. You know what I mean? It's like it's more of a true reflection of myself, and it's what I've been building. And it obviously has digital leverage. Like I can reach the entire world, and it's powered by like the most bulletproof, database in the world, the blockchain. So it has like superpowers and stuff. So people always think like, oh, if the founders aren't doxxed, it's a no go. And I think there is validity to that. Don't get me wrong. But if it's a pseudonym with like a lot of tenure and reputation in the space, I think that's something you can rely on, because really, how different is that than a name and a face you met on the street, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, Valko. And go ahead, Forever.
No, but it's like a lot of work and time to build up a reputation. It doesn't take overnight. So yeah.
And forever. The fact is that reputation for most of us is actually on chain.
Mm-hmm.
It's like all your transactions are on chain, right? It's like we were actually discussing that within the DGN Arcade founding team. I'm like, hey, we need to make an update to the website. And like, well, what's the update? I'm like, we should put our ENS domain, domain, because we want people to be able to see we want to be totally transparent about what we've done, right? So like, let's just fucking just put it up there. Just let people know that's, like for me, I'm pretty doxed and pretty much transparent. It's like anybody can go to TonyHerrera.eth and see my transactions and see what I've done. And, it's like the fact that you have a reputation that's on chain is immensely powerful.
Yeah, actions speak louder than words, and these actions are recorded forever. There's no chance they like, there's a chance they go unnoticed in the present, but like they're just there for people to assess and interpret forevermore. And it's frankly going to change. I did a tweet about this the other day, but I think it's going to change the way history is written. They say history is written by the victors, and there's always this idea of burning of the books, destroying records of the past that you don't want the future to see. And like obviously, like we can still put inaccurate information on chain. There's tons of misinformation and noise, but at the end of the day, like we at least know the information itself is like authentic. It might not be accurate or true, but like we know it was written by this person at this point in time, or it was an action that was committed by this person at this point in time. And that takes like half the struggle with like history. It removes it. Now it's just like a game of interpretation. We know like the underlying data. I mean, imagine like, imagine the Constitution back in the day. Like it was signed by these guys, John Hancock and blah 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 blah. Imagine if those signatures were like on chain and their messages were on chain, and we could really verify those things. I mean, we've all reached consensus that those events of the past were actually true, and there's probably tons of evidence to back that up. But like, how can we really prove it, right? Like, if it was all on chain, anybody with a computer and an internet connection could validate these things. So I think there's something really powerful, not just around individuals' reputations in the present, but also like long-term implications with straight up how the fuck history is written. I mean, blockchain is really going to change the game in that regard. And I don't think people are even going to begin to understand that until like a century or 10 has passed.
Valko, you started off the conversation in the space about like how you're taking, you're recording, you're using these tools, Zapier and AI to take some of your tweets and record them. And it dawns on me like that with blockchain, my children's children will be able to see my footprint on the blockchain. And to me, it's like the way that blockchain, I've said it a number of times and I'll say it over and over again. It's like, I fundamentally believe that blockchain will make us a better society because exactly what you mentioned, the fact that a lot of history will be written onto the blockchain and sort of recorded in a way where it's not recorded by a victor. It's not recorded like I think of like right now I'm getting deep into like the indigenous cultures of Mexico. And when you think about it, it's like, okay, these were indigenous groups that sometimes didn't even necessarily have a written form of history. Their history was oral, and now it's like, oh, almost anything, including your medical records, including your all your digital footprint. Like, I was telling somebody yesterday, it's like, imagine a world in which any media that you consume, any movie that you buy, any CD, any music that that you buy, any books that you buy are essentially recorded onto the Ethereum blockchain, and your children's children will be essentially to be able to watch the same movie that you watched 100 years ago.
Yeah, it's it's pretty crazy. I mean, right now we just have pictures of our grandparents, and like the stories we've heard. That's like kind of it. And like maybe if you do some digging, you can see the papers from when they came through Ellis Island, and that stuff like hits fucking hard. But like imagine just drowning in that stuff. Like it's all on chain. Like I always think fondly of like, the medieval times and this idea of like heraldry. Like in Game of Thrones, you have like, I'm Daenerys Stormborn Targaryen, like mother of dragons, breaker of chains, like blah, 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 blah. And I love reinterpreting that tweet with like, I'm Valco.eth, first of my name, like 17, buyer of punks, like collector of Meebits, like all of these things, like my legacy is on chain. And it's pretty cool when you think about it. And I think, that's the part of this whole space that unfortunately I think the whole world is just missing. Like they're just so caught up in the price action. Like, I everybody knows I'm the crypto guy in my world. Like I think we all probably are the crypto guy in our worlds. And some people think we're crazy. Some people think we've drinking too much of the Kool-Aid, but like I feel like they're just missing this whole part of it because they're just distracted and like, well, these monkey JPEGs are going for crazy prices and like Bitcoin's down 80% from its all-time high. But wait, like actually crypto's looking pretty good because Bitcoin just pumped. Like, how you feeling about it now, Valco? It's like, dude, like come onto this side of the aisle with me and just like let me show you this new world. Just for a moment. Entertain me.
Yeah. And that's why I think like getting the mainstream onboarded is so important. Like for example, your project DJ and Arcade Tony. If you think about it, everyone in the space had their first NFT purchased at a small price, like $20 or something. And even if you own a Punk or a Fidenza or something, your first NFT purchase is something very small. So yeah, like I'm super excited about getting those first few like normies purchasing their NFTs and get this mainstream onboarded with that. Maybe Tony, you would like to share with us like how you got into like Web3 and your first purchases of NFTs. I think that'd be a cool story to tell.
Yeah, so my entry into crypto was kind of roundabout. So I live in California and live in Southern California, and pretty much I've always worked with the immigrant community. And my focus has always been working with the undocumented immigrant community. And that community is a community that has like, is here in the United States, but normally has family back in Mexico and Central America and Latin America. And so I came into crypto kind of in a way of like searching for a solution for some of my clients in terms of remittances and how they send remittances. So they were sending remittances, and obviously for those who are familiar with the remittance world, it's like you can send $100 and they'll charge you like $10, and it's like, okay, wait, that's like 10% of what I'm sending, right? So it's like the fees can be exorbitant. So I looked into crypto because I thought, okay, this could be maybe a solution, because of the way to send money is like so much cheaper. And for the most part, at that time, I was looking at Bitcoin, and Bitcoin, was a solution. The only problem is that it's difficult to convert it into the local fiat currency. So for that reason, it works like 99.9% of the way, but it's that 0.01% that doesn't get you over the top. But that led me to Bitcoin. I started buying Bitcoin early in 2015, 2016. Didn't buy a lot, but a little bit, and then I really started getting into crypto a lot when when I learned about Ethereum, and then really sort of like jump started or kind of got on, like on the rocket ship with when they launched ICOs. At the launch of ICOs, so in 2017, there's a bunch of ICOs started coming out. I was enamored with ICOs only because, as an immigrant and not being able to participate through accredited investor status and not be able to participate in ICOs. I mean, in IPOs, which are initial public offerings for companies. Like I remember like Shopify and different companies that I would have liked to invest, but I couldn't invest into in the initial raise because I wasn't an accredited investor. So I sort of like loved the fact that, oh shit, here's an ICO. I can just send them ETH or Bitcoin and I can send money to, right? So I participated in a lot of ICOs in 2017. It was a crazy time. Most ICOs that I participated in went south really quickly and didn't make any money. But there was a few that actually did make money, and that was kind of interesting. And just the fact that I could send ETH to a smart contract, and then they would automatically spit out coins that were like, worth something. I can then trade on. Back then, you could trade on Ether Delta, which was the decentralized exchange. So I participated in that, and then basically around that same time, I was trying to digest as much that I could read or view on YouTube about Ethereum, and somehow I stumbled upon the article from Mashable about the CryptoPunks. And so I'm kind of I kind of like design, and I like collectibles. And so I stumbled upon, I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. You got a 24 by 24 pixelated art, kind of pop art, and you can basically get this as an Ethereum token. And it's like, oh, this is kind of cool. So I figured out how to get those CryptoPunks. It was kind of a wonky process because you had to download the recommended wallet that was a Mist wallet, which is a Ethereum Foundation wallet. It was a really wonky wallet because it was a piece of software. You had to download the software. Not only did you have to download the software, but then you had to sync it with the entire blockchain. So you actually had to download the software and then let it catch up to essentially the current transaction on the blockchain for Ethereum. And so then it required you to not only do that, but it required you to take some JSON code, copy and paste it into this transactions. So you had to select the ID of the punk, because that was one of the things about punks is that they weren't minted. They were essentially a claim process. Right? You sent a transaction, you sent ID, said, I want this particular punk. And then that number of that punk was, if it wasn't already claimed, would be sent to you. That was the case of the Ethereum transaction.
Right?
This is the V1s, correct? So yeah, that's another level, right? So like so now that you mentioned V1s, it's worthy to just note, because a lot of people don't understand the V1, V2, and credit to Sean Bonner and other ones who spoke, who written more elegantly than I can and explained it more elegantly than I could. But the basic premise of the V1 is this. So when Larva Labs at that time launches a smart contract, there was a bug in it. And the bug was simply that you could sell a punk, but the punk that you put up for sale, the bug was that you would sell the punk and the ETH that you were supposed to get would remain with the buyer. So the buyer would not only get your punk, but still keep the ETH, right? So just for a little bit of history.
For every transaction or just for some edge cases?
For every transaction. So this is very early, right? So this is like, punks released, they're all claimed, like I think punks were only claimed by about 150 or so wallets. So the entire collection was claimed by those wallets, right? So fast forward, a couple of days go by, people start trading these. Say, oh, I could post one up for trade. I could go into Discord, engage in a trade, but mostly it's like, okay, let's experiment with this process of like. So for Larva Labs, no fees for punks traders. I mean, basically the way that Larva Labs, Matt and John did is that they retained I think it was 10% or 15% of the collection. So they retained like 1,000, 1,500 punks, and basically that's what we consider the dev wallet. And basically people started trading punks, right? But what happened is that as people traded punks, people realized, wait, I'm selling a punk, but the ETH that I'm supposed to get isn't in my wallet. So what happens is Matt and John realize this, and so they go into Discord and say, everybody pause your trades, don't trade anymore. There's a bug. Fix it.
There was no successful trade in the early days, like in that period. Like every trade had that bug in it.
If I'm, unless I'm mistaken, every trade had that bug. Anybody who traded the punk, who sold the punk, didn't get the ETH, and that's what required the people were trading punks back and forth, but the ones that were sold, that were put up for sale by the seller, the buyer got the punk and also kept the ETH.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's
So that
when
must have
Hemba
went
stepped in
pretty,
and
pretty,
got a
pretty
lot of them.
quickly.
Yeah.
So Hemba goes in. You know, his Twitter handle is sold the bottom, and he basically, I don't know if he's the first one to discover it, but he's certainly the first one to take advantage of the exploit, right? And mind you, this is like the early days of crypto, right? Like I mean, remember, I went in and claimed a bunch of punks, and it was like this magical experience, right? Like you send this transaction, and you automatically get this token, right? So I can imagine Hemba discovering this exploit, and it's like you're engaging with software, you're engaging with a contract of with this if this then that scenario, right? So like people always sort of say, well, you know, Hemba took advantage of this. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, if I had discovered it, I can't tell you that I wouldn't have done the same
To me,
thing.
it's like finding $100 bill on the floor and picking it up, and then somebody fucking roasting you for it. It's like, well, it was
exactly,
there.
like, exactly. So just to go forward with this, with what happened, Larva Labs figures out this mistake, and so they figure, okay, well, what's the solution? And this is the early days of crypto, right? Like now you can look back and on with 2020 hindsight and say, well, they could have, you know, could have required any version 1 token to essentially burn the token for the version 2, but that wasn't the case, right? That mechanism was not available, right? Like punks precede ERC 721 tokens, they precede NFTs, right? So what happened is Larva Labs figures, okay, the solution is we'll just deploy a new smart contract and we will airdrop the V2 token on everybody who claimed the V1. So and anybody can do this. So if you go to Etherscan right now, you go to Etherscan and you just type the word CryptoPunk, you're going to see 3 different contracts for CryptoPunks. You'll see the wallet when you go and you type in CryptoPunk, you'll see one that has the icon for the CryptoPunks, and then you'll see 2 other wallets. And if you click on the second wallet, you'll see that it'll read old contract. That's essentially the V1 wallet. If you look at it, the smart contract, if you look at it, you'll be able to see all the transactions and you'll see all the claims and when they happen. Like, for instance, every now and then I'll go in there because I'm like, well, when did I actually claim my first punk? So I went in, my son asked me, Dad, when did you claim? So I went in, I could see it, right? And like sometimes, you know, everybody laments that they didn't get more zombies or didn't get a zombie or didn't get an alien. Like I didn't claim any aliens. Like if you look at the record, here's an interesting tidbit of information for everybody here. If you look at the claims that I got, you'll see that the punks that I claimed was a whole string. I somehow landed and got a few punks that were not in the string, that were like whatever random number, but then I landed somehow on 4700. So I claimed 4700. And then I figured, oh, you know what? This is easy. What I'll do is I'll just change the ID. So I went 4701, 4702, 4703, and somehow I managed to claim the entire string of the 4700. So if you look at the blockchain, you'll see that Tony Herrera managed to claim the entire string of 4700, right? So what happened is, you know, I claimed those, and since I didn't trade them, because one of the other parts of the story is that the computer that I happened to claim all those punks on, the hard drive got corrupted. So I actually lost access to those punks for about 2 years because I put the computer away, figuring I'm gonna freaking. I'll get to it later on. So by then I had downloaded other wallets and somewhere else, and so I just kind of played in the Ethereum ecosystem with that. But you know, once again, it was no big deal because punks weren't worth anything back then. They weren't
You're
worth
telling me
much
you
in
just had this
2017.
like junk computer like in your closet, and you're like, oh, like I might be able to
Exactly.
rescue those punks like
It was
later, but
literally in my office. It was literally a MacBook in my office that I knew I had some ETH in it, and I'll be honest with you, the main motivating factor for recovering the data on that hard drive wasn't even the punks. It happened to be that I had sent 20 ETH to another wallet, that I figured, oh, there's 20 ETH in that wallet. I need ETH to transact. So let me go and recover the wallet. So I ended up connecting with a friend of mine who's a Mac specialist. And I'm like, his name is Rogelio. And I'm like, Rogelio, dude, I got this computer sitting in the office that and the ironic thing about it is that what corrupted the hard drive was actually the missed wallet, because the missed wallet, remember, was a piece of software. And somehow, I don't know if I made a mistake on how I downloaded it or where I ended up putting it on the hard drive, but it kept replicating itself, and it replicated itself to the point where it just froze the hard drive. It just wouldn't boot up anymore. And so I remember going to Rogelio. I'm like, Rogelio, dude, I got. And it wasn't, once again, it wasn't even the recovery of the punks. It was just that I had some crypto in there. That was the computer that I had also done the EOS ICO, the Tezos ICO. So like, I'm like, if I can't recover the data and recover these tokens from these ICOs, I'm screwed. I don't have any crypto whatsoever, right? So that was the motivating factor for me to recover the data.
Dude,
on that
this is
on that
crazy.
computer.
This
It
is
wasn't
like
the
the
punks.
legend of Rogelio and Mr. 4700.
Yeah. If it wasn't for Rogelio, basically, and it was funny because I remember like thinking, oh man, I'm like gonna be screwed. And like I cringe because my story is, there are people who I know there's one wallet on CryptoPunks who claimed some beautiful CryptoPunks that the guy apparently had a fire in his house, and like his keys to his hard wallet were like burned. I mean, that's like devastating, right? Like you look at his wallet now, and that's easily like I don't know, that the last time I looked, it was like easily a wallet well into the millions. And it's like, that must be heartbreaking to think that. I mean, I'm the luckiest bastard. I'm amongst the luckiest bastard alive to think that, one, I had the good fortune that my freaking hard drive got corrupted, and I was forced to hodl not only my CryptoPunks, but a bunch of tokens that if I had access to them, I would have probably sold them, right? Like people always look at Stray Bits and say, well, he sold his aliens too early. I'm like, no, if it wasn't for Stray Bits selling those aliens initially, this marketplace for CryptoPunks would not exist. It just wouldn't be what it is today.
Man, that's an amazing story. I mean, one day this has to be part of, I don't know, like a Netflix series or something for
I
sure.
need to get somebody to like clip that entire thing. I've been recording these, and I need to find somebody who's just like a master, like, podcast clipper, so they can just make us some sweet clips, because that's a legendary story. I mean, we told some pretty good stories in LA about like the origins of the punk days, but this one was not mentioned around the fire. I mean, but it's incredible. I wonder how many other people had their hard drives corrupted due to this like software wallet. And that could have gone either way from them. That could have corrupted them and forced the hodl to an eventual rescue, or it could have led to like, other punks being destroyed forever or lost forever.
Yeah, I mean, I pinch myself whenever I think about like my story, because it's like I remember like with a fellow punk, Dan Sickles, who made a documentary about the space, and this was 2021, and I remember going to New York, and he's like, hey, can you come in and be interviewed? And I remember like basically becoming emotional about the whole fact. It's like, because I was sitting there like, oh shit, like wait. Not only did I claim CryptoPunks, but because of punks, I got early into art blocks, and I'm sitting on this like freaking fortune in JPEGs that it's like, if it wasn't for punks, I wouldn't be here, right? So for me, I always tell the story like, for me and my family, CryptoPunks have been freaking, it's like just life changing. It's like wait, it's like I have to ask myself like, why? One of the things I did say when I got emotional on Dan Sickles' documentary was like, why me? Like, why? It's like I tell people all the time, it's like me getting punks was akin to winning the lottery, but then like that lottery ticket gives you another freaking, it airdrops you another freaking lottery ticket.
Amazing.
Oh man, have you ever taken the time to like write this out, or you've just kind of spoken it a few times on like Dan Sickles' podcast and some other, or documentary rather, and some other places?
Mostly it's been that. Mostly it's like, okay, people ask me, and it's like, so like I talk about it. So yeah, I haven't done it. I think I need to. I think I do need to. I think it's like, okay, I've been thinking about it. And you mentioned it earlier, like there was a project a while back called Urbit, which Urbit was proposes to do a like virtual private server on the blockchain. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, okay, you know what, Tony, you should like scan your documents and scan like, and then like maybe record some audio of this thing, or maybe even some video, or like take Dan Sickles clips. Like yesterday, I met with with Rainier Hosh, who's with Warren, with Mike, famous, very very accomplished photographer, and he took these really cool photos of me and Elon Derrick, who happens to fellow punk who happens to be here in LA, and I keep thinking, and you mentioned it, Vaco, that's why I'm coming back to it. Is like the fact that you can now sort of record all these things onto the blockchain for me is like so powerful. Like I've been thinking more and more like, oh shit, I'm going to start like putting as much of what I have and put it onto, like, even if it just becomes an IPFS hash that links to something, because it's like, at the end of the day, it's like my family could have not only access to that audio, it's like for instance, like for us, it's like, yeah, it's like here we are like in 2023, and we're still in a very nascent world of NFTs, right? We're so early that it makes you sort of like, wow, it's like how early we are as to what's going to be NFTs, and the fact that we can now basically take our memories and put them on the blockchain and have them be recorded forever is just, to me, it's like something I still have a difficult time wrapping my head around.
Yeah. Oh man, it's amazing. My original like vision for this space, I've been wanting to do spaces for a while, and me and Forever Punks kind of like convinced each other to finally do it. But my original vision, like 2 or 3 months ago, was punk origin stories. It was after that night in LA where we told all these awesome stories, not this one, but other ones, with Wilcox there. And I was like, wow, we have these amazing stories. We just got to tell them with everybody else. And so I thought, okay, I'll do a space called Punk Origin Stories. Now, like, things have changed since. Punkcast has done, I think, such an amazing job. Maxwell has done an amazing job at capturing punk stories and punk culture. So I thought, okay, like, what if I did a twist and I did Punk's Roundtable? It's like a Knights at the Round Table kind of vibe, but like, it's got evergreen content. We can talk about punk stories, but not just that. We can talk about, Web3 trends and other stuff. So now this space, the vibe is, a place and a platform for punks to gather, and share their collective wisdom with the world. And that might include punk stories like this, but it might also, talk, it might be talking about the Twitter algorithm or something. But that's amazing. I feel like it's come full circle, and I'm definitely I'll send you the recording for this today, and if I can get somebody to clip it up for us so that you can have it for your archives, for your, kin of kin of kin of kins, that would be
Yeah,
epic.
that would be amazing. That would be amazing. Thank you for that, Vaco. So listen, guys, I really love the fact that you guys are giving me some time, space. I feel like I've kind of like taken too much time in today's recording or today's spaces from you guys, but I also have to jump on a call with the developer on a program that he's working on, which is kind of cool. It involves kind of like a loan aggregator for NFTs. So it's going to be interesting. But thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I'll see you, Vaco, in Tokyo, and whoever's going to be in NFC NYC. I'll see you then. But thank you for giving me the time.
Yeah, man. Good
Thanks
luck
for
with
popping by.
everything. Good luck with the claw machine. And this is exactly the type of thing we want to have in this space. So thanks for giving us your time.
You guys be well. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, that was so amazing. We had not much to say, just listen to the amazing story. Not every day you hear origin stories like this, but yes. In the meantime, I mean, I would have loved to have a couple of guys from the audience hop up and maybe ask Tony some questions, but maybe for another time. In the meantime, if anyone wants to hop up and just say hi, feel free to request the mic. Other than that, Valko, what's the plan on your side? Shall we be wrapping in a couple of minutes before that?
Probably so. I know we've got this Twitter algo stuff.
I maybe had one question. Maybe you could answer that, Valko, because It seems like I'm the least V1 knowledgeable person. So Tony described there was this bug in V1s, right? But today the V1s that they're traded via wrappers, right? How does the wrapper fix that bug, right? Do you know how it does
Yeah, I
it?
mean, the wrapper is just a regular ERC 721, and it operates as such. The original Punks token, the V1, was a pre ERC 721 token, a slightly modified version of the ERC 20, and they screwed up the contract and they screwed up the sale mechanism. I mean, the second contract added in more proper marketplace features effectively, but the original contract had this problem where you would list a punk for sale, somebody would buy it, and the buyer would keep their ETH,
Mm.
and that was obviously a huge problem.
So basically, what you're trying to say here is that the token itself still contains the bug and is not really tradable. But if you put it in this wrapper, then it kind of eliminates that bug because it's like the trading happens directly through the functions of that wrapper.
Exactly, yeah. Like basically V1s can't,
Just-
they could exist in their unadulterated form, but if they're listed for sale, unwrapped, somebody can buy it, and the buyer gets to keep their
right.
ETH. So, it
So don't buy unwrapped V1 punks.
well,
I
no, I
see
mean
a
buy
bunch
them because you'll get the punk and keep your ETH.
of don't sell them. Don't sell them. But actually, Valko, I saw you just bought another one, right? Yesterday or something.
Yeah, I just pinned it up top. Oh fuck, where'd it go? Yeah, I was shopping for them. I mean, I just love the V1 punks. Like, I don't personally like have this belief like, oh, they're gonna flip V2s or whatever. I mean, it's possible. Like, I'm not like pushing that. Like, I basically think like, both are part of the punk story, and one came before the other, and that's just a fact. V1s can't exist really in their raw, unadulterated form. They have to survive within this wrapper, whereas CryptoPunks, V2, as it were, they can exist kind of unwrapped, but like the entire space is built on the back of CryptoPunks, including the ERC 721 standard itself. And CryptoPunks are built on the back of V1 punks. So like you cannot tell the story of NFTs without CryptoPunks. You cannot tell the story of CryptoPunks without V1 punks. So for me, the grail is to like have both, and I'm so happy to have both. Actually, when I was shopping, there's so many beautiful V1 punks around the floor right now, and I picked up my pair at like 18 ETH or something, like at the peak of V1 peaks. So seeing them down at like 4 or 5 ETH now, I'm like, oh, I can like lower my cost basis here. But there's also some really beautiful ones. But when I was shopping, I actually saw a Big Shades fedora. I don't think it had the goatee, and I don't think it had the earring, but it may still be out there. Definitely worth checking the
I'll have a
floor
look.
on Blur.
Yeah, because I actually hopped recently into the V1 Discord. A couple of nice guys and some of the Forever Punk supporters in
It's
there as
it's
well. So
amazing, and I think like there initially was a little bit of friction maybe between V1s and CryptoPunks, but now I think like most people there's a lot more of a wholesome attitude around it. It's less tribal warfare going on. But yeah, if you could see, like I couldn't get the exact matching punk for my V2 Velma, but I got something very similar, and you could probably do the same thing.
mm-hmm.
Ezra, what's good?
Hey, hi guys. I just wanted to think, you were talking about ways to put the stories behind people's collections and stuff on chain, or to store them. And I wanted to give a mention to Etch that Matt Kane built with Deca. Do you know that?
I do not. What's the TLDR?
Oh well, it's like it's a way of linking an on-chain text to a particular token to like an NFT. So it's like Deca, is like a gallery platform. They do a lot, but basically a gallery platform. And he worked with them to build this tool where so you link it to, you pick an artwork, or you could pick your punk, and you do a text, and then it'll record that text as a I don't know exactly how. I think base64 and SVG, but it records it on chain, and then also Metcane did a algorithm that responds to the text and makes like a generative image.
So does
based on
it
the
create like a new transaction that stores that text, or is it somehow attached to the punk itself?
It makes a new token, and like the etch token is like linked to I don't know exactly like technically how they link it, like in the metadata, and so you get this etch token, and then like when you open the etch token on the marketplace, they give you like a metadata link, like a
That's
link
cool.
to thing.
I
Yeah,
gotta check that out. I've been leaving like you can send like cryptographic messages and sign them, but in order to
yeah,
validate them, you got to have like the address, the message that has to be character perfect, and the hash. And once you have those three things, you can validate the message. But like this is almost like it's able to store that on chain. But what I've been
yeah.
doing that I always thought was really fun is I'll like write a cryptographic message somewhere, and then I'll store the information in the alt metadata of like an image. So I'll like tweet an image, but if you like save the image and look at the metadata, there'll be like a cryptographic signature in there. So I've been just like spreading these seeds of cryptographic messages throughout the internet, hoping that
Oh,
one day someone will find them. Unfortunately,
that's
there
cool.
is no scavenger hunt involved, but
Well,
this seems like a better way, a more robust way to do it. That's super cool. So you said Etch by Matt Kane, yeah, and Deca.
yeah, on Deca. The other cool part of the etch thing is that there's like another aspect. I don't want to talk forever about it, but it's like they also have a thing called lift, which is in etch, where like if you can basically make a copy of the etch token and send ETH to the holder of the etch token. So when they launched it, they did that with like 4 charities, but like it could also be like just a way to give like a shout out or support or whatever to the people do the etch. But it is super groovy, like just as a way to record the story behind the token, like what Tony was telling would be awesome for an etch.
Yeah, dude, that's sick. Well, thanks for coming up. It is 8 past the hour, and we do our best to keep these to an hour. So we're going to be closing up here. On Thursday, 9 a.m. ET, we will be inviting Barcella Punk up onto the stage. And I think he's going to join half past the hour. And he's actually the current CEO of CryptoPunks via the $SIG token. If you guys are familiar with that fun project we all got airdropped, so it should be interesting to hear what the CEO has to say. So
Yep,
that'll be exciting.
I'm actually having a call with him later today, so I'm gonna brief him on that as well. Yeah, other than that, guys, we still have the Forever Punks Pass mint going on. So if you'd like to join, you have some information in my pinned tweet. So feel free to still look at that. And yeah, thanks for everyone who joined today. Valko, thank you for joining. This was super fun episode, and looking to have many more like these in the future.
Yeah, Sean, I just saw your message. We're gonna close up now, but definitely listen to the recording. Tony was up here. He told an awesome V1 Punk story. I'm sure you've heard it, but you might want to hear it again. He gave you a shout out or two. We got to figure out a way to clip it. It's a good V1 punk content for sure. All right, lads. It has been fun. I love scrolling through here and seeing all the punk faces. Such an honor to have you guys all here, and hope to see you guys again Thursday. And spread the word. The more we get in this room, the merrier, and the more of you we can get up on stage, the better.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. Bye
All right,
bye.
later.